Chapter 237, Time Distortion. Look at how anxious you are. Mr. Luo could not help but laugh at Zhu Tui's rapid questions. However, Luo Shifeng laughed self-deprecatingly. Actually, you're not the only one who's curious. I originally planned to spend at least 20 days to slowly develop this 9th reaction speed genetic base point. However, in the end, I could not suppress the anxiety in my heart. I slightly sped up the development and activated it in advance. 3 days ago, I successfully activated the 9th reaction speed genetic base point. Luo Shifeng gave Zhu Tu an affirmative answer, but it made Zhu Tu even more anxious. Mr. Luo, what about the genetic ability chain and genetic ability? First of all, I can tell you clearly that activating the 9th reaction speed type genetic base point has indeed formed a genetic ability chain that has never appeared before. Speaking of this, Luo Shifeng was also very excited. What genetic ability is that? At the mention of genetic abilities, Luo Shifeng's expression froze slightly. This is a little complicated, I have to tell you slowly. Zhu Tui's gaze shifted. Looking at Luo Shifeng's expression, he immediately realized that the situation with his genetic ability might not be as optimistic as he had imagined. Let me make it clear to you first. Personally, I think that this 9th reaction speed type genetic base point forms a brand new genetic ability chain with the first 8 genetic base points that have been discovered. Moreover, there was more than one genetic ability. I highly suspect that I have 2 genetic abilities, Luo Shifeng said. You actually have 2 genetic abilities? This answer made Zhu Tu excited. Yes, but these 2 genetic abilities are only my speculations at the moment. I haven't figured out a way to replicate them yet. Let's talk about the first genetic ability brought about by this brand new genetic ability chain. This first genetic ability is very ordinary. It should be a comprehensive increase in one's reaction speed. Open this portion of the data before and after. Before I activated it, my personal reaction speed was 0.05 milliseconds or 50 microseconds. My overall reaction speed was 0.3 milliseconds. According to the previous theory and the research of activating the 8th reaction speed genetic base point, and then activating a new genetic base point, the reaction speed that I can continue to increase is very limited. It can't even be reflected in my overall reaction speed. However, after I activated my 9th reaction type genetic base point, my reaction speed had greatly increased to 0.03 milliseconds. Not only that, my overall reaction speed had increased to 0.1 milliseconds. You've trained your overall reaction speed. You know how difficult it is to improve this. Towards the end, every increase of 0.1 milliseconds required a huge amount of effort. According to my previous record, it took me 2 years to increase my overall reaction speed from 0.5 milliseconds to 0.4 milliseconds. However, now that I had only activated 1 genetic base point, my overall reaction speed had increased from 0.3 milliseconds to 0.1 milliseconds. If we were to see this separately, the muscle reaction speed of almost every part of my body had doubled. Therefore, I had reason to believe that the first ability of the genetic ability chain, formed after activating the 9th reaction type genetic base point, was to increase the overall reaction speed of an individual by several times. If it was more rigorous, it might stimulate some neurons to regenerate and develop in a dense manner. In layman's terms, there were originally only 100 neurons in your fingers. After activating the 9th reaction speed genetic base point, the relevant neurons in your fingers might develop to 200 or even 300. As a result, the overall reaction speed of the individual would increase. Luo Shifeng explained everything to Zhu Tu in detail. Zhu Tu also understood. At the same time, he could tell what Luo Shifeng was implying. According to his senses and speculations, this genetic ability chain existed and had related genetic abilities. However, if he wanted to develop a complete set of theories and get the genetic committee to approve of this genetic ability chain, he would need a large amount of data to support him and use it as an argument to succeed. This was because this ability was not too practical or could be seen through materialization. It could only be displayed through data. Moreover, 1 or 2 or even 8 or 10 people would not do. He had to have a large amount of data from ordinary genetic newcomers to support this theory. In other words, Luo Shifeng felt that after activating the 9th reaction type genetic base point, he had formed a genetic ability chain with the first 8 genetic base points and had a related genetic ability. However, he could not prove it. He could not bring out a convincing performance or argument. He needed time. It required long-term research. However, Zhu Tui did not really care about these things. What he cared about was the genetic ability brought about by this brand new genetic ability chain. And this first genetic ability seemed to be a pure enhancement ability. Compared to Zhu Tun and Luo Shifeng's current reaction speed, it was just icing on the cake. It did not actually help their abilities. Mr. Luo, what about the second ability of the genetic ability chain? Zhu Tui quickly asked. The second ability is even more mysterious, or it's difficult to explain with ordinary theories. What kind of ability is that? Zhu Tui asked. I need a small experiment to reveal this ability. As he spoke, Luo Shifeng pulled Zhu Tun to the laboratory and handed him a large caliber energy pistol. The plasma bullet speed of this large caliber energy pistol can reach up to 4,000 meters per second at full power. In other words, it could reach a speed of 4 meters per millisecond. My overall reaction speed was currently as high as 0.1 milliseconds. Based on the data theory, if the gun fired at me from a distance of 0.4 meters, I would be able to dodge the plasma bullet. On the contrary, if you shoot at me at a distance of 0.4 meters or less, I will definitely not be able to dodge the plasma bullets, Luo Shifeng said. Mr. Luo, theoretical data is only theoretical data. When theoretical data is applied to reality, there will often be a certain difference. The theoretical safe distance is above 0.4 meters, but I think that according to the theory of super delayed reaction speed, this theoretical safe distance is at least 0.6 meters, Zhu Tui said. Luo Shifeng was slightly stunned. Good lad, you've finished your theory classes for the next semester, not bad. Luo Shifeng first praised him, but then shook his head. However, I'm not here to study theories with you today. Instead, I wanted to experiment with you. Come, stand at a distance of 0.4 meters and shoot at my left hand. Luo Shifeng chose a spot. Zhu Tui was stunned. He was immediately shocked. Mr. Luo, you're crazy. At such a close distance, if the plasma bullet were to hit you, it would melt your arm. It would be impossible to perform a limb replantation surgery, Zhu Tui said in shock. Do you think I'm crazy? Do I look like I'm joking with my life? In the past 3 days, I had done all kinds of experiments. I had tested my limits step by step. I'm just showing you this rather mysterious genetic ability. Come, hurry up. I'm not even afraid. What are you afraid of? Luo Shifeng urged with a nonchalant expression. Zhu Tui hesitantly took the large caliber energy pistol. The corners of his mouth twitched when he saw the caliber. How was this a F-King large caliber energy pistol? It was clearly a large caliber energy cannon. Luo Shifeng went all out to obtain a faster initial speed. Mr. Luo, are you ready? Zhu Tui accurately positioned himself 0.4 meters away from Luo Shifeng's left arm. Bring it on! Luo Shifeng stared intently at the large caliber energy pistol in Zhu Tui's hand. Zhu Tui was surprised even before he fired. His aura had changed. He activated his mental perception the moment he activated it. Before this, Luo Shifeng's aura had been normal. However, under his full concentration, Zhu Tui could sense that Luo Shifeng's aura had suddenly changed. Such a strange situation had never happened before. Zhu Tui gently pressed the trigger out of curiosity. Bang! The explosive sound and the brilliance of the plasma bullet sounded at the same time. In Zhu Tui's vision, Luo Shifeng's hand had been penetrated by the plasma bullet. However, he could sense that Luo Shifeng's hand was trembling slightly. He easily dodged the high-speed plasma bullet. Even with Zhu Tui's mental perception, he could only see that Luo Shifeng's left hand was trembling slightly. In terms of vision, Luo Shifeng's hand did not move at all. Zhu Tui was stunned. Mr. Luo, what kind of ability is this? In my senses, the moment I focused, time seemed to have an extremely short moment of stagnation, or rather, it slowed down. This amplitude was extremely small. I tested it many times and deduced that the time deceleration was only about 0.05 milliseconds. It was so short that it could be ignored, but it was still very useful. It's because of this abnormal change in time that I managed to dodge the bullet that I couldn't have dodged at this distance, Luo Shifeng said. Bullet time, God view, time stagnation, time ability, Zhu Tun uttered a series of names. None of them match. Luo Shifeng shook his head. In the past 3 days, I've checked a huge amount of information and found a possible source of this ability. What source? Time distortion. Time distortion. Zhu Dui frowned. He had coincidentally seen this theory a few days ago. The general idea was that when the speed of a person or an object was infinitely close to the speed of light, time and space would distort and change. The relatively slow flow of time was one of the distortions. But the problem is, Mr. Luo, our current technology level still can't reach the speed of light. Moreover, you didn't do any high-speed movements, Zhu Tui questioned. There is movement infinitely close to the speed of light. It's very likely that my reaction speed is close to the speed of light. That's why this change is possible. In theory, with the mystery of the human body, it was possible for the reaction speed from brainwaves to neurons to be close to the speed of light. Of course, this was a scientific explanation. There were still many genetic abilities that science could not explain. But there's no problem with naming it this way for the time being, Luo Shifeng said. Time distortion at the speed of light. Zhu Tui nodded slowly. He could name it, but the key question was, Mr. Luo, how far can you distort time at the speed of light? 1 meter or 10 meters? 10 meters? Luo Shifeng laughed. If it's really 10 meters, it'll be invincible. At the moment, as far as the hundreds of experiments I've conducted, there's no such thing as range or not in this time distortion. Only one node could appear. Moreover, what was distorted was the time in your inner domain. It won't affect the time in the outside world, Luo Shifeng said. In other words, you only have an extra 0.05 milliseconds of reaction time. There is actually no change in time in the outside world. Zhu Tui grasped the essence of the situation. Indeed, Luo Shifeng nodded. However, I'm the only one at the moment. I still need more data to support the specifics. What about you? When do you plan to activate it? Luo Shifeng asked. Me? I'll do it no. Zhu Dui could not hold back anymore.